My name is Jane Mary. Welcome back to the Synchronia Radio Show, where we inform you about the latest beats facts on music, culture, and events. I bring you the weather of 20 degrees on this lovely Tuesday morning with the sun shining and the grass as green as ever. Today's broadcast will feature Eleanor Smith focusing on this decade's economy.
Thank you, Jane. Well, what a time it is for prosperity, technology, and entertainment. It's goodbye to wartime and hello and thank you to peacetime. The urban economy has been booming with orchid bombs, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop just yet. With all these hip-to-jive get-ups and the jazz music flowing out of every nightclub, money is flowing in and being spent with no difficulty. Consumer rates are through the roof, especially with the new introduction to buying on credit. People are more eager to buy products this way, using the bank's money so they can get the product quicker and pay it off over time. Paying the bank back is not hard either. New businesses and productions are bringing in loads of dough, which are coming back in higher wages and new factories. But we all know about this. For goodness sake, we're living in the middle of it. But how are the other groups in Canada doing? How are our farmers who produce the food that is served on our tables living life in the so-called Roaring 20s? Well, fortunately, the rural communities have been climbing up the economic stairs just like we have been here in the city. Post-World War I life has forced farmers to transition from a war-based, full-production economy to more balanced in supply and demand. Luckily for us, along with the national independence that was brought back from war, many international relationships were created, allowing us to export resources and make more profit. Like the current Russian chaos under Stalin is causing starvation in some areas in the Soviet Union. We are exporting portions of our food supply because they cannot produce their own. This situation in the Far East is helping us with the rapid expansion of the wheat economy. However, as international demands are rising, the wheat prices are dropping. This is a result of current farm conditions, as they are not in the optimal state for our current economic circumstances. It's just marvelous that our rural economy is developing as fast as our urban economy, but our agriculture may not be able to keep up. Our wheat-producing prairies have been affected by heat, frost, and soil exhaustion during the war, which has reduced the output. The biggest factor, though, is the widespread drought. There ain't earful of nutrients in the soil to produce a sufficient amount of resources to export. Farm operators on poorer soils are consistently losing money. This is especially hit hard in southwestern Saskatchewan and southeastern Alberta. Farmers are now left in frustration trying to fight for fair wheat prices. But now they have been developing a wheat market called the Saskatchewan Cooperative Wheat Producers Ltd. The Farmer Union of Canada and the Saskatchewan Grain Growers Association has merged together to bring this idea to life. Its purpose is to market wheat to importers in an orderly and direct fashion rather than grain exchange and future markets. Before this new form of marketing, it was said that grain marketing has become too business-oriented, as they did not have the individual power relative to powerful grain handling. They also worried about unfair pricing by these companies. Not to worry anymore, because the Saskatchewan Cooperative Wheat Producers Ltd. allows farmers to collectively fight for a decent wheat price. Returns would then be pooled or collected and distributed annually after expenses to all members. The wheat pool elevators are still to be established, but for now, our first temporary grain delivery is an old warehouse located in Sobey, Montana. I can sense a long, successful future for this company. Lots to anticipate.
Thank you, Eleanor Smith. Next up, we have the one, the only Elizabeth King. As our nation says goodbyes to the war days, we commence our journey of seeing ourselves as an independent country, separate from Britain. The way our Canadian comrades modeled perseverance and fought alongside Britain on the battlefield suggested that we are no longer their child. So much so that we insisted on signing our own treaties and having a separate representation on the League of Nations. Just like the world, our city is transitioning from war to peacetime societies. We are more eager than ever to enjoy life and all the new inventions that are adding to the excitement. Cinemas, automobiles, radios, and airplanes, bootleggers, booze, flappers, and jazz. Buckle in your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, for today's segment where we usher into a new modern age. Starting off, artistic accomplishments are flourishing more than ever with the new inventions of radio broadcasting, and our automobile industry is growing as the demand for cars are soaring through the roof. Just yesterday, the Bookstream automobile was introduced at the Toronto exhibition. It was reported that the car was built partially of strengthened fabric, and the Meritage brand cloth helped to make the car lighter in order to improve the power-to-weight ratio. Other successful companies like the Grey Dot Motors were also present at the exhibition. It is expected that many families will be engaging in automobile trips into the country and that the government will be definitely introducing new traffic regulations. These bedrooms on wheels are sure giving the young men and women the freedom to go wherever they please. And oh my phonus balonus, most importantly, our era has introduced the new birth of woman. Forget your regular Gibson girl and meet your new flapper. She defies the society's standards of what a woman is supposed to do, say, wear, act like, and be. She has gained political power by gaining the right to vote. That's right, you heard me say it. The addition of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution may just be one of the reasons why she's making such bold moves and extending past her domestic shell. Darn the old set of values, she's adopting new ones. Bobbed hair, short skirts, such flamboyant clothing, and oh my heavens to Betsy. Have you ever laid eyes on such dramatic makeup? This isn't just her attitude and her way of life, it's her social statement. Many drink alcohol, enjoy cigarettes, and love going to clubs every night. Not to mention, the new dances, fashions, and hairstyles that we often see in movies are now being copied by the adoring public. All fellas want to do is just dance. The Charleston, the cakewalk, the black bottom, the flea hop. And some older folks are just Jew-droppers, objecting to all this jazz music's vulgarity and the moral disasters it supposedly inspires. But the young women refuse to give up the freedom they feel on the dance floor. Also, technological advances are also helping reduce the drudgery and time-consuming chores of everyday life. For example, the washing machine, the vacuum, and the refrigerator, which is allowing our household women to store food for longer periods of time, and the options of frozen food, which is reducing the preparation time for meals and the need for vegetable gardens. Sure, we're living in the roaring 20s, but not always does it prove to be as splendid as ever. Trends in society depict that the shifting values and ideas in fact do play a role on the increasing urbanized living, rejection of religious standards, and similar changes. Some people are even having difficulty adjusting to these changes, therefore it's causing tension between human relations. More and more conflicts are arising between religious groups, racial groups, and political parties. Immigrants are even being blamed for stealing jobs, and rumors have it that there will be a resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan. That's all for today. My name is Elizabeth King. Tune in next week to know your onions.
Susie Woozy, are you going out tonight?
Yeah, I got a date with that chic tonight.
Oh, really? Looking like that?
What's your story, Morning Glory?
Your hair seems a little bit off.
Oh my, it's been like that for days. You think he won't like it?
I don't know, but blow your wigs, you got yourself a hairdryer from the local corner store. This hairdryer makes your hair look flawless. You should try it.
Oh my gosh, John, you weren't lying. You shredded wheat. My hair will attract all the sheiks in town. Hairdryers, for sale at your local corner store. Hairdryers, for sale for only $10.
Welcome back to the Synchronia Radio Show. Next up, we have Margaret Williams.
Thank you so much, Jane. Today's focus will be mainly towards our Canadian athletes from World War I in comparison to now, as we are seeing many changes during times of hardship. Over the course of World War I, it is evident that it was a primarily male-dominating time period. Women did squat. But you shredded wheat, ever since the conclusion of the war, we witnessed a rapid change in our nation. Minorities are starting to gain their place in our society. Essentially, women like myself began working full-time jobs and are no longer physically or emotionally inferior to men. As we observe the period of rapid growth, women are beginning to actively participate in sports teams. Oh, how the tables have turned. Back then, the plenty rugged men were those who played the ever-so-famous sport, basketball. Currently, women are dominating in this sport. The Edmonton commercial graduates, also known as the grads, are part of a group, and were from McDougall Commercial High School, well known for their talents in the sport basketball. These women are currently playing internationally and across our nation, winning majority of their matches and achieving over 100 titles. The successes of these women are true inspirations to all Canadian women to take up sports and participate in athletic activities more often. Similarly, our ever-so-famous Fanny Bobby Rosenfeld is the most accomplished female athlete of our time. She is top-ranked female sprinter in Canada and has achieved top rank in long jump, shot put, and discus in 1925. Looking at all these achievements, we really see where our women are heading in the future. Although World War I was a devastating crisis that occurred in Canada, it brought upon hope to women. Despite the fact that not a whole lot of women are participating actively in sports currently, there is certainly a growing amount, and we are expecting to see a massive change towards our future. Our generation is changing by the blink of an eye.
Thank you, Margaret Williams. Next up, we have Ann Taylor.
So, we're living in the Great Depression, right? Thousands of Canadians are unemployed, in severe debt, starving, or all of the above. We're all suffering, right? We all share one common struggle, which is trying to survive this. This has been hard on all of us. In fact, we've taken many callers, and we've listened to all their stories. They were all different, but they all had the same, they all had the same message, basically. They were all struggling. We understand that we're all struggling and suffering at different levels. Wouldn't you agree that there are some groups of people who are suffering more than others? I would definitely agree. And not many people would agree with me, but I have to say it. There is a group of people who are suffering the most, and those are the African American community, right? That's just a matter of fact. It's just not my opinion. I'm not saying that, the white community isn't struggling. They most definitely are. We're all struggling here in this dark period of time. However, we need to recognize that certain groups are suffering even more because of the discrimination and prejudice that is still widespread here in Canada. So let's talk about our brothers and sisters from the Black community, shall we? Well, they were the first to be laid off from their jobs when the Depression hit. Their unemployment rate is 2 to 3 times greater than the white community, and they're less likely to get a job compared to their white counterparts. They're actually known as the last hired and the first fired. And all the public assistance programs, the soup kitchens, all the organizations that help victims of the Depression, most of them actually exclude African Americans from their services. So, they actually entered the Great Depression before the Great Crash in 1929. Yeah, that's right. And they stayed there longer than any Canadians. Not only that, but racism towards African Americans only increased, even though they were the ones struggling the most. But still, the Canadian government did nothing to help. They weren't doing at all anything to help the dire situation. So, the Black community actually created their own political movement. It called, their own, quote-unquote, New Deal. So this is a political movement, right? This included offering emotional support, caring for each other's children, and actually creatively manipulating their family resources. Is actually really interesting because they actually caught and resold fish, resold vegetables. They sewed. They did other odd jobs, to get by. And religious movements also expanded their efforts to feed the poor. I don't know, I find it amazing that under all that suffering and racism they face, they still managed to create their own social movements without the help of the government. You know, that's what I call a true community, right? Because they actually did a lot. They created, their own jobs. They cared for each other. While, that, I think that it's the greatest example of a community at this time. We see communities come together in hard times. We see them bond over, the common experiences, which is, in this case, struggle. But the Black community at this time is doing an extraordinary job. And that's what I call true community. And I get that a lot of people are not going to agree with me. I get that a lot of people are going to be mad, especially at this time. But I have to get the message out. This is the truth. This is true politics. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes tonight's segment of the Synchronia Radio Show. I'd like to thank all of our featured speakers today. Catch you later.